And we're live, we're back, and no one is okay. No one's okay. Like, you see this smile? This smile is what I do sometimes when I'm like, I don't want to have to freak out at somebody in public. Now that Elon is in office, a lot of people around my neighborhood have brought out their MAGA apparel. And what I've discovered is if somebody is wearing a MAGA hat, I am convinced that they actually want to talk to me because they're trying to get my attention. And I'm like, hey, MAGA person, I just want to know how you're feeling about things right now. And I kind of want everybody to check in with the apoliticals in their lives and with the MAGA voters, not the racist, bigoted ones, but the ones who say that they voted for Trump because he was going to lower the price of their groceries. I want you to check in with those folks because I'm having a hard time finding them. I'm actually asking those questions on social media and I'm not getting any responses whatsoever. And so I'm just wondering, are they no longer eating eggs? Are they just like, I don't like quiche, I'm a vegan now because make America healthy again? I want to know what's happening in their lives and if they're feeling the consequences of their decisions in the way that a lot of us are all feeling the consequences of their decisions. I want to be positive for this show. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, but I am going to be very real with you. Luckily, we have a guest tonight who is not just a lawyer and a public health advocate, but she is also a comedian. And I love her content so much because she goes hard on people in ways that they definitely need to hear it that way, but that she also provides a ton of facts that make it very easy to understand what is happening in our world right now. And this world, I feel like there was this Trump bubble of alternative facts, and they were all living in that world. And then they just kept expanding that world. And now we are all forced to live in that world with them. And so we need our own playbook to get out of this world. And so that's why I have Elizabeth Booker on the show tonight. So bring her on in. And I want Elizabeth. Hi, Liz.
Hey,
How are you?
hanging in there.
I'm fine, is what I just keep telling people. I'm fine. I want to give people a quick introduction to who you are. We have a clip of you talking about Elon Musk, our new president, because I feel like he's the one making all the decisions and calling all the shots, and Trump
Yeah,
is just, I don't know what he's doing other than saying things that are freaking
at
people
this
out
point, just
in,
know that I
in
am
these big
Elon
countries.
Musk's biggest hater, okay? Because that welfare king from Africa, he had the audacity to build a supercomputer in Memphis, Tennessee, my hometown. You let apartheid Levin Clyde build a supercomputer in one of the blackest cities in America, and this bitch ain't paid his motherfucking light bill. He owes $400,000 to Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. MLGW will be quick as fuck to cut off some little old lady in Whitehaven or Hickory Hill over $20, $30, but they got this asshole with a $400,000 debt and just letting it slide. At this point, I hope that he goes to Memphis and gets a true Memphis welcome, okay? And then the only thing left will be his hair plugs rolling like tumbleweed down the goddamn street.
Make it a ringtone.
Yeah, I was angry.
You well, and that's the thing. We're all really worked up right now, but we're also trying to be effective. And sometimes being effective means saying the thing that needs to be said. So I'm, for one, am glad that you are saying it. But my first question really for you is like, what the fuck is going on? Because we've got this guy with kind of like FU money, and he's that's what he's doing. He's telling everybody to F off, apparently.
I mean, like everybody said, we have this unelected billionaire who's not even from America, while they're talking about other immigrants. Dude is from South Africa. He has somehow infiltrated our government and been allowed to do so. I I don't really know what's happening beyond. Okay, so we knew there were going to be two parts to this administration. Okay, the chaos and the confusion that
Hmm.
happens to distract, and then the insidious stuff that gets slipped into it. And I think what has happened is Elon was being used for the insidious stuff to slip into that,
Hmm.
and maybe they weren't even expecting people to be as focused on it. I don't think they were expecting Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost, and Seth Magaziner, Democratic House reps to go down to the Treasury Department yesterday and bang on the door demanding to be let in. I feel like they thought they were going to use Elon to kind of go more under the radar, because quite frankly, people think he's smarter than he is when he's just a fucking idiot and a trust fund baby. There's like an idea on the right that he's like an engineer and stuff because he bought Tesla. Like, no, dude doesn't know how to do any of this stuff. He's not tech savvy. He has absolutely none of these STEM skills that are necessary. And yet he's somehow being put in charge of Doge, which is just a glorified IT office in the White House that I guess is now stealing data.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Data privacy is a huge issue here. But also, if we remember, Doge was originally going to be Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy until he pissed everybody off about the H-1B visas. And so they kind of just scooted him off to the side. So do you think part of the reason why it is so out in the open and so chaotic is because they don't have Vivek Ramaswamy to kind of keep him reined in, and he's just going in there like a chaos agent? Or like, because I'm trying to figure out exactly how they thought that this was going to go down.
I think that they were banking more on the chaos and confusion to cover it up, as I said before, because I don't think Vivek was going to do anything. Uh, he's not useful. Like I said, I find it hilarious that the Indian dude got booted out of the IT office at the White House. Ha ha, that's what you get, Vivek. But no, I think it's just that they don't know how to do anything. They don't know how anything works. Elon doesn't know how any of our laws work. As I said, in various chats, the day that all this was going down with Treasury was, this is a Privacy Act of 1974 violation. Oh my God, like alarm bells ringing because I work in federal privacy law. And I was like, this is what this is. Hours later, we see a lawsuit filed under that exact law, like citing that exact law as the reason. And I think that caught them by surprise. He also got caught up with a FACA lawsuit, which is the Federal Advisory Committee Act, that Doge was violating FACA. Like, they just don't know about these laws and how they work. And despite what people may think about the court system, because they go, oh, the Supreme Court, Trump appointees in there. There's so many people at all of these lower levels of court, lower court levels that are going to block this stuff, as we've seen over and over again. I mean, my God, it was a Ronald Reagan appointee in Washington State in federal district court that blocked the birthright citizenship nonsense. And so I feel like they're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what the hell sticks. I really don't think these people have a logical train of thought beyond let's be as hateful as possible and see how we can get that hate to go.
I actually want to sit with that positive mindset of the judicial system might be able to stop some of this chaos. Because in my mind, I'm going, they're clearly lawless, right? They don't care about the law. They don't care about respecting the law. Maybe even an order will be issued and they might even defy that order. Can you talk a little bit about the mechanisms of the checks and balances that still exist? Because a lot of people don't recognize like that something has to go from the district court to the circuit court before it goes to the Supreme Court. Can you talk a little bit about how that can be more effective than we're giving it credit for?
Yeah, first of all, it takes a while to get through those mechanisms. Like when they appeal, all of this, injunctions get put in place, which means that's what happened with the birthright citizenship thing. They were like, nah, you're not going to go forth with this. Trump administration, I don't know if they have appealed yet. They likely will if they haven't. And then it goes to the Court of Appeals, which is the next federal court level. And then if the Court of Appeals, once it's done there, then they appeal it again to, as you mentioned, the circuit court. We've got 13 circuits here in the United States. It's going to go to one of those, depending on what district it was brought in, right? And then if the Supreme Court decides to grant cert, that's when it goes to the Supreme Court. That is usually some years of stalling this stuff out. And that is the bit of hope that I hang on to. And then people go, okay, but wait a minute, the Supreme Court, once it gets there, that Supreme Court is full of Trump appointees. Okay, yes, but they are not as predictable as people like to make them out to be. First of all, only about 80 cases are even granted cert, meaning granted the ability to be heard in the Supreme Court each year. They don't have time. They don't have time to hear all that. This man's going to be hit with hundreds of lawsuits before the year is over. They're not going to get all that in the Supreme Court. And then there's a whole state court issue, which I'll get into in a minute. But we're just talking about federal court right now. But this Supreme Court has been chaotic in so many ways that they've gone against Trump. They went against him when it came to or his Fifth Circuit that he's like stacked up. It's known as the Trumpiest circuit in the United States are the ones who brought the mifepristone challenge, the abortion pill challenge, all of that. They went against them when they made the decision about D. Ray McKesson and protecting the rights of Black Lives Matter protesters. It was an 8-1 decision, if I'm not mistaken. An 8-1 decision in not even hearing the case. They bounced it back and said, "This is how we're going to do it. Like you've got to follow the rule." And Sotomayor wrote like a little note, basically saying, like, "District Court, you know better. You're not violating these people's First Amendment rights." Great. We saw it with the ICWA case, the Indian Child Welfare Act case. They upheld that, and it was I call her Amy Coney Island, and I always forget that's not her real name. Amy, what's her name? Amy Coney Barrett. She penned that majority opinion, and they upheld ICWA. They have they struck down the mifepristone case even for Fifth Circuit because of standing issues. And not only that, like Amy, she got Haitian babies and stuff that she adopted. I don't really think she wants to get rid of birthright citizenship. Like there's a lot of factors in this that even though there are far right people on that court who have come after our abortion rights, come after race-based affirmative action, all of that, they have still gone against Trump in a number of ways. And I really want people to focus on that positive side of it.
Okay, I didn't think we'd actually be able to have something hopeful in this show today, but that actually feels very freaking hopeful. And so I'm feeling good. I know you also wanted to talk about state AGs, what the state attorney generals can do and the power that they have, Democratic ones. Clinging to hope. Yes, clinging to it.
Clinging to it. Yes. So everybody talks about, okay, Elon Musk, these people, can we arrest them? What can they be charged with? And people think, well, Trump's just going to pardon them, or he's not even going to have the DOJ look into it. And I'm like, okay, state privacy laws exist. State laws exist. And these Democratic governors and these Democratic attorney generals of these states need to start hitting people throughout this administration, like Elon, with state charges. I think they need to go after him. Like people forget the whole reason Trump got convicted in the first place, that was state charges. That's what happened there in New York. They need to hit these people and investigate them for whatever crimes that they can throw at them. I made a post and I said, start tagging your governor and your AG. And I need everybody to start contacting their governor and their attorney general in their state, especially if you're in a blue state, and say, y'all need to go after Trump's people. Okay. I tagged Governor Wes Moore and the Maryland AG because I'm a Maryland resident. And I tagged them and I was like, I want to see him in a Baltimore jail cell. Like, get that man. I don't care if he gets the charges get dropped later. Give him 24, 48 hours in a jail cell in Baltimore. Go ahead and get them and keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them and hitting them over and over and over again, the best that you can, until he goes back to South Africa and doesn't want to step foot on American soil anymore. Get them out of here. Dig into their stuff. And I feel like that's the problem with Democratic leadership, not just at the federal level, but even at the state level, is a lot of like trying to fight fair. But we don't need to fight fair right now. These people are not playing fair. These people are not doing anything clean. And I feel like we need to fight dirty. So my slogan going into 2025 is trumped up charges for Trump's people.
Absolutely. Well, no, and that's exactly it, because, we talk about all this, bringing a knife to a gunfight, and it's like, we're bringing like a pillow to a gunfight. And I'm like, guys, we actually do need to play hardball. And that's what people are asking for. And so I'm glad that you pointed out what people can do as far as tagging people on social media. A lot of calls to action are calling, right? I think half the time that I call in, the voicemail box is full. So can you talk about, you've got a huge social media following, but what about for the people who only have 250 followers? Is it effective for them to also get out there and tag and post?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Get out there and tag and post and all your friends and family, because it's going to make a buzz. It's going to make some kind of buzz no matter what your following is. And make sure to just share far and wide, even on Facebook. Boy, especially if you get the boomers yelling on Facebook. Go ahead and tag their Facebook pages. People have forgotten about Facebook. I still have a Facebook account. That really is a good way to go after some of the boomer leaders because they still cling to Facebook like it's the holy damn grail. Get on Facebook, tag them, post on their pages, share on subreddits that will amplify this stuff. I feel like people forget about Reddit, and Reddit's great because we just saw, and I was skeptical of it, still a little skeptical of it, but the 50 marches on the 50 state capitals, that was started in a subreddit. And I was concerned that it was a bit of a setup or too disorganized. So I didn't make any content about it, either promoting it or denigrating it, because I was like, I don't know how it's going to go. Turns out there were some pretty big protests that came out of that today. Pretty cool to see. So it's good to get on these different platforms and really spread that message around, whether you have a bunch of followers or not.
Thank you for saying that, because I think people want to feel empowered right now, and maybe not everybody has. Marches aren't always accessible depending on where people are, and so this is a good way for people to make their voice heard and also have it be incredibly visible. And I often forget that I have a Facebook. I accidentally auto post on it sometimes, and then I'll go into in Facebook and I'll be like, oh, I was like, what is this that I posted 2 years ago or a year ago? And yeah, I gotta get more active on Facebook as well. So people are understandably overwhelmed. How are you filtering out what's noise and what matters right now?
Um, Ooh, that is such a big question. A lot of it is going with my gut and just what I know, past knowledge of how the first administration operated. As I've mentioned before, it's no secret. I was a presidential management fellow starting in 2017 during Donald Trump's first presidency. So I was here, and I always laugh and say the first time I got invited to the White House was by him and his people, which anyway. So um I try to think about how things went down then and the patterns that I'm seeing and kind of cling to that. Unfortunately, things have gone much more haywire compared to then. And so I really started analyzing months ago when the election was first won, trying to pay attention to the rhetoric being put out there of what was most important, what needed to be focused on. And immediately it became apparent to me that it was trans rights, mass deportation, and anything that we see with trying to put American citizens in an unassimilated box. And I thought it was crazy that even just one of the first executive orders used that word assimilation in there. And I was like, oh my God, so on the nose. And that came from me going to Berlin in April of 2024 and meeting with the journalists and the German Council on Foreign Relations and the folks who had uncovered the far right Nazi party that has been rising up in Germany. And then lo and behold, we see Elon Musk fully backing that exact same party. And so it was good to be able to notice those patterns beforehand and kind of prepare for it. And I was like, man, I knew it was coming. But even knowing all that, even having gone to Germany, even talking to these different experts and people, it still sometimes just like hits me hard. And you just got to take like a step back and breathe and chill. I've been watching comfort movies, Miss Congeniality. That was good. I watched What Women Want. I hadn't watched that in a really long time. I hate that Mel Gibson's such trash now. Just trying
I
to
know.
like
I was like,
pull
I was like, I liked Apocalypto. That was like of the last
my
Mel Gibson movie I watched. I was like, that was a good one. I refused to watch any others. I'm glad that you talked about the international piece of things for many reasons. Conservatives are working globally. We see Malay and Trump doing a lot of similar things. We see Orban doing similar things. What's happening in Germany with AFD. Why aren't Democrats and progressives having our own version of these global CPACs? Or maybe we are. Are we having those? Did I not
if
get invited?
if they are Americans, just aren't part of it, and maybe I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, and I think that they're learning the hard way, as are we all now together, that you can't just keep relying on being the smartest person in the room. You can't rely on
God.
being the kindest person, the most respectful. Let me reach across the aisle. I even made a video a while ago when I talked about Hakeem Jeffries and how he really prided himself on being a reach across the aisle kind of person. And I responded with, I'm more a fuck you bitch and the click you claim kind of person, but whatever. I think Democrats have got to shift into that mentality and they've got to get mean. And I think we saw a little glimpse of that yesterday with the Department of the Treasury, thanks to,
Mm-hmm.
especially Jasmine Crockett leading it. But I'm like, we can't have Jasmine and AOC being the ones to tell everybody how to fight. They've got to
Thank
learn how
you.
to fight.
Yeah, it's almost like I want them to pause everything and have a quick orientation where everybody sits in a room with Jasmine Crockett and Maxwell Frost and AOC, and everyone's like, okay, see how they do it? Because this is the thing, putting them on the front line as if democracy is for us to save when it's for all of us to save. It's a recipe for burnout, for one, but it also makes it seem like the saving of democracy is purely for marginalized groups when
Right.
it's absolutely not. Democracy is supposed to function for all of us. And I think what a lot of people aren't yet seeing the consequences um, of their vote is they're in this space now, this because everything's so chaotic. I asked a friend today, I was like, hey, so just from your perspective, how are things? And they're like, oh, it's it's the same old, it's just the same rhetoric. And I'm like, really? Because now I know people can't get the medication that they need for their kids in their own state because it's been banned. So that's different. So it seems like a lot of people are just burying their heads right now. So how are, because your videos sometimes reach like the MAGA side of the internet
Pretty
occasionally,
regularly.
but it also reaches the third party voters, the Jill Stein voters, those folks. How do we talk to those folks now? Because I've seen some stuff that I kind of disagree with, and so I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on how we need to talk to the third party voters, the people who are regretting their votes for Trump, the people who don't vote?
I mean, I don't know if I recommend this for everybody because somebody's got to mend bridges, but I tell them to go fuck themselves on a regular
Thank you,
basis.
thank you,
Because I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. And then I said months ago, because white leftists were on my ass. How are you supporting a genocider and this, that, and the third? And I said, there's going to be a comeuppance for y'all come election day and calling the majority of black women voters. Because let's be real about what black women do. And this is before the results came out. I said, what you're doing is tying the genocider label to black women, majority of black women voters across this country who are trying to do what we can to protect as many people as we can, right?
everybody.
And
Mm-hmm.
I called the shit because the 92 percenter movement has been hard and they are hurting right now. And I've just popped off on, I said, white leftists will stay on my shit list. Y'all will stay on my shit list because you're the same Bernie bros as 2016 that pissed me off, and you're pissing me off now. And so I popped off on them and I said, you need to leave me alone. And they come back with, we've got to build coalitions and community. And I'm like, I don't need to build shit because I've had that since the day I was born. You white people have no community and no culture. Apologies for that. But you're not going to keep negging black women after what you did to us and how you treated us, and the way that you voted was ridiculous. Like, you're not going to neg us to get into our circles. We're not playing that. I don't have time to coddle it. They're dangerous. We are now
Mm-hmm.
in full fascism times. I tried to hold their hands up to the Bernie bro thing and teach people, baby, we are at the end of the rope. I don't have time for you. You got to go. You're not in my community. You are out. And I was very blunt to somebody about that. And they said, wow, you don't respect any third party voters? I said, no, because you don't make good decisions. You don't know how to make decisions to save your own ass. And I'm sorry, baby. I know you wanted a utopia that was going to be the perfect solution. You wanted everything. I wanted everything to stop in Gaza as well. I wanted all of that to stop. I was on Biden's ass and Antony Blinken's ass and all these people as much as the next person. I was calling them all kinds of shit out of their names. I was trying my best. But you have proven that you don't know how to make a hard choice within the realm of reality when you have behaved this way. So that tells me you will not survive a revolution. And not only will you not survive, you will get my ass killed. So you've got to get the fuck out of my circle. So, I could have worked with them if Kamala had won and we weren't in the bullshit. We could have mended those bridges. I don't have time to mend those bridges. I got to let you go. I got to let you go because you are unsafe and you have proven that you are unsafe for myself and my community, point blank, period. And I know that's a hard pill for them to swallow, to be told that they are useless like the white people on the right. But I was like, you are just like the white people on the right. Except at least I know at least they going to call me a slur and tell me exactly what they going to do. You're going to do some fuck shit behind the scenes because you fall for scams like Jill Stein, Jilly Manilli. And I I can't see that coming. At least I can plan for the racists in my face and I know what they're planning to do. But you're going to get everybody caught up. You got to go.
I'm so glad that you said that because it needs to be said and it needs to be heard. And those are a lot of conversations that I was having in DMs with folks about the third party voters and people in my life who, are very, I want to say that they well intentioned, right? But not tethered to reality.
That's
And
tethered
so
to reality. That's the problem.
yeah, and that's the thing. Exactly. It's like I'm like I appreciate the intent, and it's like, as a comedian, like like when you have a heckler, you have the heckler who is trying to be a part of the show, but they're not malicious, and then you have the heckler who's trying to ruin the show, and you want to handle them differently. But when the outcome is a ruined show or a ruined democracy, sometimes it's like, you just got to go.
And I'm just going to be straight with people in this moment because I've been trying to figure out how to make a video about this. But I also said that these people don't know how to deal with an actual like worst case scenario. And I was like, I apparently need to make a video and explain what happens when your loved one was murdered. Because as many people know, my little brother was murdered. He was gunned down in the street in a random shooting in 2017 in Memphis. This is his hoodie. This is his signature, all his little stuff I wear in his memory. And I think that people think that when the revolution comes, a lot of these white leftists, these Jill Stein voters are just like, oh, chaos will ensue. And I'm like, I think you think you're going to turn into an anti-hero while you're sitting there looking at the body of the people you're supposed to care about and protect. I don't think people understand the PTSD and the trauma that comes from watching your loved ones be murdered, and you're not going to be able to just rise up immediately and fight back. I feel like they have this idolized version of a revolution in their heads. And meanwhile, so many of us in this country, parents who have lost their children to school shootings, Black people who have been brutalized and gunned down by police, those of us who grew up in very dangerous, I'm from one of the most dangerous cities in America, I'm from Memphis, right? Who grew up with constant violence. I can't tell you how many shootouts I've been in, right? Those of us who have grown up in that, we can understand how painful that is. And I think that was part of the disconnect with a lot of those people, because it was like watching them play out a damn like young adult novel in their minds as
Yes.
if this was some fun game, when really I'm thinking about like, oh, you don't know what this life is like. Like, I mean, just be real. Like, you're not about that life. That's basically what it comes down to. But you want to be about something, you want to matter, but I don't think you're really ready for what would come. And that's what drove me crazy the most, is trying to like convey that. I had a man tell me, well, we've seen children killed. I said, no, you've seen pictures and videos. You have not held your child's body. You have not seen anything. You've seen somebody else's tragedy and watched it like a movie. And I think that's been part of the disconnect as well, that has made it very easy for these folks to make decisions, again, not rooted in reality.
Well, and that's because in their reality, they've lived very protected, privileged lives in many ways. And so that makes it very difficult to have that visceral sensation, impossible even to have that sensation of what that would look like. And so I think a lot of people are having a hard time understanding, even right now, that fascism is happening here and that it's getting closer and closer to their neighborhoods. And so this desensitization of what is very, very possible in the coming weeks
Yeah.
at the pace that we're at now.
Well, we have
And
a red
so,
flag for genocide on America from the same human rights organization that monitors genocides around the world. So we do not have active, but we have a red flag for genocide because of what has occurred. And I was really trying to convey that to people and say, you keep saying that genocide, stopping a genocide is your red line. Why is preventing one not? That was the thing I always responded with. Why are you not concerned with also preventing a genocide? Because the action that you're taking with this vote isn't going to give you whatever outcome you're trying to get. But we know what will happen if one candidate wins and one candidate loses when it comes to other genocides to other populations. And sadly, the first that we're seeing is with transgender people. That's who I'm most afraid for in this moment right now in America.
yeah, as am I. And as many people know, I'm the mom of a trans teen. So all of this stuff hits incredibly hard. And so when I have conversations with people who don't understand that their coworkers, maybe their neighbors, are having to make very drastic plans right now to protect their loved ones, this isn't the status quo of Trump, the first Trump administration. Like, people were still able to access passports and medications in the first Trump administration, and that is not what is happening in the second Trump administration. So for the people who say to me, "Oh, it won't be bad. We survived him the first time." Well, the first time was obviously very different than what we're all experiencing right now. And so going forward, because I want to get to a positive note as we end this, I'm like getting back to the positive note. I want to talk about community care and getting the things that people need anyway, right? because that is where we are arriving at as a society, where people are not going to be able to get the medication that they need or the health care that they need through the same channels that they were able to get them through before. Can you talk a little bit about what this looks like now that we're seeing bans that are affecting blue states where it's still legal within the state, but now there's this sort of executive order that is unenforceable but enforceable? Can you talk a little bit about that and how we can still make sure that we're taking care of our families?
Yeah. So fortunately, blue states, I live in one. Our governors, our leaders, at least I know for mine in Maryland specifically, have been very vocal in that they're like, we're not fooling with whatever they're doing over there. We're good. They're going to make sure that we still have our resources and everything that we need. But as we know, red states are not just full of racist MAGA people. They're full of people we love. I always talk about the fact that the majority of Black Americans live in the South, where things are very, very red. I'm from Tennessee. I'm from a red state myself. And I would hate it if the rest of the country, because I feel like there's been this rhetoric of, well, I'm in a blue state and I'm good, then y'all should just move. Well, it's not easy for everybody to just pack up and move, for one. I encourage it if you can. If you can relocate to a blue state, highly recommend it for sure. But that's not the reality for a lot of people. We keep talking about being rooted in reality. Let's be rooted in reality. That's not it. And we also can't just throw everybody in red states away because of this crazy man and the people who voted for him. And so I know I stay connected with all of my family down in Tennessee, friends, everybody there. If you can get medications in your blue state and get it to your family and friends in red states, that is an immediate action that you can take to help people right now. If you know that you've got expanded Medicaid in your blue state, but they're about to cut Medicaid in this red state for your family member, and you can say, you know what, let me see if I can get an inhaler prescription, go ahead and get it and send it. And I know that sounds, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pharmacist. I can't give medical advice. But we're in tough times right now. And I think it would be perfectly moral and ethical to do that and try to get those resources to them. If you can open your home, if you're in a safer area where if they need a medical procedure or something done, if you can open your home to your loved one, to your friend, to help them out, and just make sure to stay in touch. And then at the same time, make sure that you're just finding community resources. I got a mom group. I try to see them at least once a month in person. Got a local mom group in my county. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, a historically Black sorority. I went to an event because I'm finding a new grad chapter to join, because I'm originally from Memphis, is where I crossed. So I'm trying to find a grad chapter here and stay in touch with that community. The comedians who I perform with all the time, right? Those in-person connections are going to be so important for that community support and care. And people have got to learn to go out and make friends again. I think COVID made it hard for people to
We're all like
remember.
little homeschooled folks now. It's like, I don't know how to talk to strangers.
Right. Got
But
to
it's
get out there.
essential. No, it is, and I'm glad you spoke to that, because you're a busy person, but you're still making time to have those community connections, and that's one thing that we have to remember, that we exist for as human beings. Like, if we lose that piece of things, what are we even doing other than being cogs in the machine? So
Right.
yes. Okay. Do we feel a little bit hopeful? Like, did we do that okay? Do we feel hopeful?
I hope so. I mean, I told people I haven't packed my bags and left the country. So that people, because they ask me all the time, they're like, do you feel like I'm like, there's still hope. Because if there's no hope, I'm going to Dulles Airport and I'm leaving. Okay. So if you see me do that, you know what's up. But right now
And
I'm
I was like,
here.
yeah, I was gonna say, and right now I'm here. Planes go both ways, so it's okay if y'all need to take a break. I'm a big fan of people taking a break and having a little perspective, being on the outside looking in and refreshing ourselves so that we have more energy to save our democracy. So thank you, Elizabeth Booker. Guys, you can find her on Instagram. Are you still on? You're on Blue Sky. Are you still on TikTok?
I am not posting on there for the time being, but you can access all of my old videos and playlists. So did not take the profile down. So
Okay, so Booker Squared, find her on all of the platforms, and be educated and entertained and inspired. I'm feeling inspired. So thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we're not going to see anybody having to flee. There we
Hopefully
go.
not. And thank you for having me.
There you have it, y'all. We did some hopeful stuff, I hope. I want to express once again when we're talking about community care and making sure that people get the things that they need. Two wrongs don't make a right means the bad guy always wins. And the bad guy knows that in this case. And so we are dealing with people who do not have the same moral compass that a lot of us do. And so trying to appeal to their sense of morality or to their sense of empathy, they're not concerned with any of that. When Musk is going into Doge and they're going into the different departments and just cutting funding and offering people the opportunity to resign, they're not thinking about how that's going to impact average Americans. And the government is supposed to exist to protect us. That's why we pay taxes. And so I don't think any of these savings that they are finding are going to trickle down to the rest of us. So we have to take care of each other. And so I want to encourage you to do that, to think about how you can obviously put your oxygen mask on first, but also how you can care for the people in your life. And that way we can get through this together. And make sure to tweet at your and Blue Sky at and Instagram at your elected officials and let them know you want them to do the job that you elected them for, because that's what they're supposed to be doing. We shouldn't have to be doing this 24/7. So thank you for joining me, and I will see y'all next week. Oh, yes, we have other shows. Check out all of our other shows. I'll be on the breakdown with Rick tomorrow. So check us out there. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks.